Hello, and welcome to Underneath the Hat podcast. I am your host, author, entrepreneur, educator, Cherie Simmons. And this is season 4 of Underneath the Hat podcast. And our theme for this season has been Speak Over Yourself. So, again, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We took a little break last week, and this is the Thanksgiving weekend. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Happy Black Friday to those of you that love to shop. And since we're talking about shopping, you can go and check out my books, Underneath the Hat, and It's That Size for a Reason, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Great stocking stuffers for this holiday season that we're in. You can also subscribe and like the page on YouTube and check us out on all podcast outlets: Anchor, Overcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, and Pocket Cast. Lord, I'm tongue-tied today. Also, be sure to share, be engaged. You can post questions and comments and even so into the session via Cash App at $YLAAT 2017 or through Zelle at underneaththehat@gmail.com. So this episode, our topic will be focus on the light. So as I said before, last week, I took a little break, and I'll admit it was so much going on till I really didn't have time to come on and do the podcast like I normally would. And that's been happening a lot lately, which is not like me at all. I'm very organized and focused on what it is I'm supposed to do. But this last month has been I've been all over the place. And so I was watching my church's virtual service last week, and my pastor of fellowship, he mentioned something in his sermon that talked about focusing on the light. And he mentioned the scripture of, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And he spoke about how the valley of the shadow of death, even in order for there to be a shadow, there has to be some form of light. And instead of us focusing on the negative part of the shadow, which we think is death, we need to focus on the light. And that really spoke to me because over this last month, it's been so much that has happened. My life and my mind has been going on a whirlwind. And so it's easy to focus on the bad part instead of looking at the good that comes out of it. And one thing about me, I reflect and self-reflect a lot on the stuff that happens to me. And I've been looking a lot at the lessons behind all of the things that I've gone through. And that's what I consider the light. What is the lesson? Even though things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, what is the lesson? So one thing that happened to me last week is I had told you all that I had applied for the principal's list within my school district, and I thought that I did a great job. I just knew that I had made the list. But then I heard last week, which was part of the reason why I didn't come on, because I was dealing with the feelings that I had. I found out that I didn't make the list. And I couldn't understand why. You know how you just know something is going to go in your direction. You know you did well. You know you did well on the test. You know you studied. You know you gave your best foot forward. You know you did everything that you could for the relationship. And it just doesn't work out the way that you expected it to. So I was in my feelings. I'll admit it. I was pissed because I just knew that I had done and was prepared and had enough experience to give them what they wanted. And I took a day off from work, a mental day to get myself together because I knew that I just wasn't in the mood to be bothered with anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I just wanted to lay in my bed and be with this one person and just enjoy my time. Get to woosah. I don't want to be around nobody else. I just wanted my space, my person, with the space we created just to be by myself in a comfortable, comforting position, space to just unwind and clear my mind. And then next morning, I was in the shower, and the Lord told me what it was He wanted me to do next. Just like that. Literally got the news on one day, and the next day, that morning, God told me what He wanted me to do. And it was in no way in the direction in which I was trying to go. None. And all I could do was stand in that shower and say, really, Lord? So what was the lesson? What was the purpose of me going through all that I went through, stressing out, letting people know, opening up, being vulnerable, telling people what was going on, putting myself out there, all for it to not happen? And He told me I had to get you out your comfort zone. Because where I'm taking you, there are going to be some uncomfortable spots. And I need to know that you can handle it. And I will admit, applying for that list and going in front of people that I didn't know and telling my story and being transparent and honest. Hell, I even cried at the end of my interview, which wasn't, I realized it was a cry of release. Because some people, when they see you cry, they figure you soft, you sensitive, you ain't got no backbone. But in some cases, that cry is a release. It's a way of getting out all of the pent up energy and anger or frustration or excitement or emotion that you've been holding in. And it's a way for you to release. And that's what I did. The very last thing they asked me, I cried. And then there's another part of me where if I cry, that one glory tear, you might want to run. Because some people cry because they're angry, so angry till they can't get the words out, till it just comes out in the form of a tear. So I've been there too. But I cried as a form of release. And I just knew that I had it. But God let me know that He was just taking me out of my comfort zone to prepare me for what was next. And I must admit that where He is preparing to take me is someplace something I've always said I wanted to do anyway. I can be honest and say that. Applying for the list was not really something I was adamant about, that I was 107% in, toes down. I just was listening to all these people around me saying how great I would be as a principal, and all these people who believed in me and who were encouraging me to go into this direction. But it really, honestly wasn't an area I wanted to go into. because I've never liked the politics of being a principal. I could be an assistant principal all day because I am a behind the scenes person. I'm your second in command. I'll make sure that the building is running like it's supposed to. I'm cool with being second in command. I don't need to be in the front. I don't need the spotlight. So I've always been okay being an assistant principal because the assistant principal is really the face of the school. And I was okay with that. I've never really wanted to be a principal because I didn't like the politics of it. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, and kissing babies and faking the funk, putting on facades. I don't like all that. I'm not built for that part. So really, God gave me what I wanted, even though I was comfortable. I believe this whole process allowed for me to be comfortable in my ability because I doubted myself sometimes in that area. And he let me know you have the potential. You have everything that you need to do this job. I just need you to believe in you. Forget what everybody else is. I need you to focus on the light. So me going through all that I went through to be ready and prepared for that test and me to do well on the test, I don't care what nobody said. I know how I did. For me to have done well on that test and feel comfortable about what I did, regardless of what anybody else says, I know that I was successful. And now I see why I had to go through the no, the shadow of death, the bad part of it, the negative part of it, in order for me to focus on the light. Look at that. That just came to me. Okay, Lord, look at you. I had to go through the no. And letting everybody that I had told to pray with me and who have supported me all these years and encouraged me all these years and loved me and protected me all these years and saw things in me that I didn't see and pushed me and motivated me in the field of education to have to reach out to them and tell them I didn't make it, and for them to be just as shocked as me because they know what I can do and what I have shown. That valley of the shadow of death, but the shadow was created because there's a light somewhere. All of us have a shadow when we walk, and the more light that hits you, the more accentuated your shadow is. So even in the midst of dangers, toils, and snares, even in the midst of negative things going on around you, even in the midst of foolishness and just dread and death and chaos, the light that we have creates this shadow that lets us know that we're still alive. We're still here, still standing, as Antoine Fisher says. So I had to encourage myself and speak over myself to focus on the light. Focus on the light. And even after the revelation from God and taking a day off and mentally getting myself together, I was hit with something else. another personal letdown happened recently. And so people that I thought I could depend on and were in my corner and that I thought would be here a long time had to make an exit. And I can admit that it hurts a lot. But I also can look back at the things that I've overcome in that same area that I've been able to survive, and I'm still standing. It didn't break me. And there's a reason for everything, and there's a lesson in it. ending. And so I'm just sitting back waiting to see what the lesson is. What is God trying to show me? What is it that I need to learn from this? What is it that I could have done better? What is it that I did right? What are the things that I could still work on? But I didn't crumble like I did when I was younger and it happened. I was able to pick myself back up and go out and have my me day today and do everything that I had planned on doing. I wasn't sitting at home sad and depressed and moping. And I went out, went to see The Lion King on Broadway, went out to lunch at a new restaurant, and had me a good time. And so I don't know what tomorrow will hold. I just know that I'm going to focus on the light in my career. I'm going to focus on the light in my personal relationships. I'm going to focus on the light in my professional relationships. I'm just going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I know my light is bright. My shadow is bright. And I'm going to sit in this moment of my life by myself and focus on me and prepare for where God is taking me next. And that's a great transition because he also let me know that my plate is full. And in order for me to go where he has shown me he's taking me, I have to clear some things off my plate. And so I didn't realize that November the 16th, 2018 was the very first day that I did a podcast with Underneath the Hat. So just celebrated my 4th year anniversary of doing podcasts. And while God was speaking to me, he showed me that it is time to clear my plate. So in March of 2023, I will record the last episode of the Underneath the Hat podcast. It's bittersweet. I really didn't realize I had been doing it for so long. I even looked back at my very first episode and thinking of the people in whom I have had on the different stages and different backgrounds of Underneath the Hat. I'm going to do a good tribute leading up to that last episode of going back and looking at how far I've come. Sometimes you got to go back and you got to look and reflect on the things that you've done in the past, because it will amaze you at what you've been able to do. Because I don't think we stop enough. Somebody told me once, you don't stop enough to smell the roses. I don't think we stop enough to realize what we've done and how far we've come. And looking at those episodes on YouTube, I had no idea all the stuff that I had done in these 4 years, all the people I've spoken to. And for me, stepping outside of my comfort zone of being an introvert and reaching out to people, because I don't like talking to people, reaching out to people and asking them to come speak with me and having them as my guests and interviewing them and having them in my home and turning my home into a studio. And I've had a lot of memories with this podcast. And so having it for 4 years is amazing, because there have been some people who couldn't even manage to do theirs for a couple of months. And I'm just happy for the people I've been able to meet, the people I've been able to touch. Um, and I'm just excited for what's coming next. But I have to clean my plate, and that will include bringing Young Underneath the Hats podcast to a close in March 2023. So I'm excited for the upcoming episodes. We got a good 10 left before our final one in March. And so I'm going to let the Lord lead me in what direction He wants me to go, who He wants my final guests to be. There may be some new guests, there may be some familiar faces from back in the day, but I'm going to end this with a bang because not only has this podcast helped me, but it's also helped others. I may not be a YouTube star with millions of viewers, but if I touch just one, I did what I was supposed to do. It's a song that says, if I help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. So if I could have helped just one person, and I know for a fact I have, and I did a shout out to her a couple of weeks ago. I know for a fact that this podcast has helped somebody along the way. In particular, someone dealing with infertility, which was the whole premise of one season where I dealt with my infertility. So I'm just excited for what I've been able to do and all that I'm getting ready to do. But it's bittersweet to say that Underneath the Hat podcast will be coming to an end in March 2023. So I want to thank all of you that have supported me thus far. I ask that you stick it out with me these last 10 weeks as we wrap it up in style. And I'm excited for what's coming for me and for you. And I can't wait. So again, make sure you share this podcast episode, be engaged, post questions, so into the session. Also, make sure you subscribe and like on the YouTube Underneath the Hat podcast page. Check us out on Anchor, Overcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, and Pocket Cast podcast platforms. And remember, as I say at the end of every episode, remember to take care of yourself underneath the hat. I'll see you next week.